"I just want to see my balance," said the young black girl in a steady voice that pierced the arrogant quiet of Bank of America elite. Charles Whitman III paused his typing on his luxury laptop and peered over his custom frames as if he'd heard the year's silliest quip. The 9-year-old stood before the exclusive desk, clutching a clear file of papers, as scores of wealthy patrons observed with a blend of skepticism and spiteful entertainment. Her scuffed shoes and plain tee clashed starkly with the $3,000 outfits and luxury purses that filled the chilled space. "Did you catch that, darling?" Charles murmured to his spouse, Madison, audibly enough for all to overhear. "The kid wants her balance." She must have confused this for an ordinary branch. Subtle chuckles rippled through the lobby like a soundtrack to deepen the girl's shame. Lana Jackson had been raised hearing she didn't fit in spots like this, that kids like her should stay in their lane. But right then, something in her gaze showed a resolve beyond her 9 years. As if she bore a burden too weighty for her youth. The supervisor, Mr. Patterson, neared with a patronizing grin that never touched his gaze. "Darling, this is the elite area. Kids need adult supervision." And well, he waved loosely at the posh clientele. "Maybe you're misplaced. The standard office is opposite." "I'm not misplaced," Lana answered, setting the file on the stone counter with a grace that opposed the rudeness encircling her. "My grandma instructed me to arrive here now at this desk." Her tone held firm. No sobs, just an unsettling poise for a child publicly shamed. Charles couldn't hold back. He shut his laptop and neared her like a hunter sensing weak quarry. "Your grandma, eh? And her name, dear? Perhaps she's our janitor." The remark sparked hushed laughs among the onlookers. "Or she might labor in the clinic kitchen where my wife gets her cosmetic work." Madison shielded her mouth with her gloved palm, feigning shock while her eyes gleamed with venom. "Charles, be nice. The girl obviously doesn't grasp her location." But Lana didn't yield a bit. Instead, something barely noticeable shifted in her bearing. Her back straightened, her head rose a touch, and for the first time, a faint grin graced her lips. It was the sort of grin that savvy folks would instantly spot as perilous. "Dorothy Jackson," she declared distinctly, each syllable heavy like a pebble tossed into still waters. "That's my grandma's name. And she said some here know that name quite well." The impact was instant. Mr. Patterson blinked repeatedly as if grappling with something improbable. His fingers paused over the keyboard. Charles arched a brow, obviously not knowing the name, but sensing the abrupt mood shift. "Patterson," Charles summoned impatiently. "Enter that absurd name and let's end this farce. I have an investor session in 20 minutes. But as all awaited with vicious glee, none saw the girl scanning every visage, every response, as if committing something vital to memory. Her gaze held a wit and endurance unfit for a 9-year-old. It was then Mr. Patterson input the name into the system, and something remarkable occurred. His face transformed utterly. He blinked, retyped, and his complexion drained of hue. It was as if he'd seen a phantom in the records. There amid all the scornful stares, Lana stayed still as if protecting a secret too mighty to unveil prematurely. And if this tale of bias and reversals stirred your soul, remember to join the channel because what's forthcoming at this bank will show that underrating someone can be your life's gravest error. Mr. Patterson attempted to mask his stunned look by swiftly shutting the monitor, but his digits shook a bit as he entered arbitrary inputs, attempting to gain time to digest what he'd viewed in the system. Charles, restless with the holdup, drummed his fingers on the stone counter with rising annoyance. "What's the issue, Patterson?" "A basic check shouldn't drag this long," Charles stated, his tone heavy with the command of one used to instant obedience. "Unless you're excusing this uncomfortable scene." Madison chuckled spitefully, fixing her pearl choker as she eyed Lana like a creature in an exhibit. "Darling, perhaps call your grandma. She's likely anxious, unaware where you've wandered." Her tone dripped with phony parental worry. "Kids tend to stray into spots not for them." Lana stayed still, but something in her gaze altered. As if an ancient recollection had activated. She recalled vividly her grandmother Dorothy's words 3 days pre-death. "Child, when you visit the bank, you'll encounter folks trying to shrink you. Let them speak. Let them chortle. For the last laugh is the best." "My grandma's gone now," Lana said plainly, her tone keeping that unsettling poise. "She passed last week. But she showed me some folks need hard lessons." The remark sparked a short uneasy hush. Charles cleared his throat, obviously uneasy at mocking an orphan child, but his conceit swiftly overrode any human decency trace. "Well, sorry for your loss," he said sans real sincerity. "But that doesn't alter you shouldn't be here. This spot's for folks who grasp serious money, not for," he waved vaguely toward her youthful antics. It was then something intriguing happened. Lana opened her clear file with intentional motions and withdrew a sealed envelope aged by time. Centered in graceful script was written to be opened solely with the chief manager of Bank of America Elite on Fifth Avenue. Mr. Patterson swallowed upon seeing the envelope. Something in the script, the aged sheet, churned his gut. Dorothy Jackson had been a myth in the city's black society, a woman who directed a silent dominion while all undervalued her, just as they did her granddaughter now. "What's this?" Charles queried, attempting to snatch the envelope from Lana's grasp. She swiftly retracted, her reflexes surprisingly swift for a kid. "It's not yours," she answered with a resolve that made Charles flinch as if struck. "It's for the one who truly operates this bank, not the pretender." Her response's boldness turned Charles crimson with fury. He wasn't accustomed to challenge from any, let alone a 9-year-old black child. Madison clutched her husband's arm, sensing his imminent outburst publicly. "Listen, you little," Charles started, but was cut by a figure's arrival that fully shifted the dynamic. The area director, Ms. Victoria Thompson, a graceful black woman in her 50s, neared the group with resolute strides. Her flawless suit and authoritative bearing made even Charles instinctively posture in her presence. "Mr. Patterson," she said, her tone slicing the tension like a blade. "I got an auto alert from the system on a special account query. I trust all rules are followed correctly." Relief showed on Patterson's face. At last, someone with true power to handle this impossible scenario. But what he didn't anticipate was Lana's reaction to the director. The girl grinned, her first true grin since entering the bank. "Vicky," she said, using a close nickname that halted the director abruptly. Victoria Thompson eyed the child closely, and gradually recognition lit her gaze. "Lana Jackson," she whispered as if viewing a spirit. "My lord, you resemble Dorothy as a child." Charles and Madison swapped baffled looks. How did this child know the area director personally? And why did Victoria appear to treat her with respect they'd never seen? "Your grandma told me you'd arrive," Victoria proceeded, her tone thick with feeling. "She said when the moment came, I'd know precisely what to do." Lana extended the aged envelope to Victoria, who accepted it with mildly shaking hands. "She said, you'd grasp what's written here better than any." As Victoria carefully unsealed the envelope, Charles tried regaining situation control. "Victoria, surely not listening to this. This child must mix things, inventing tales." Victoria lifted a hand, quieting him instantly, something few in Charles's life achieved. She swiftly read the letter's contents and with each line her look shifted from curiosity to total astonishment. "Patterson," she said sans glancing from the paper. "Prepare the executive conference room now and summon the legal team." Now the executive room. Patterson stuttered for her. Victoria finally glanced up, her eyes sweeping each face before fixing on Charles and Madison with an intensity that made them instinctively flinch. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said with frosty formality, "I strongly advise rethinking further remarks. You've just committed your lives' greatest judgment error." Charles tried laughing, but the sound emerged strained and anxious. "Victoria, with respect, you're overreacting a bit. It's just a child with fantasies." That's when Lana spoke again, her tone low but bearing a weight that thickened the room's air. "Mr. Charles, heard of Jackson Holdings? The real estate web controlling half this city's commercial properties." Charles blinked, puzzled. Of course, he knew Jackson Holdings. It was one of the region's most potent and enigmatic firms. No one knew exactly who backed it, but its investments shifted millions. "And what does such a firm relate to you?" he asked dismissively, but uncertainty tinged his tone now. Lana grinned again, and this time something nearly predatory marked that grin, and look unfit for a 9-year-old's face. "Everything," she answered plainly. "Because Mr. Charles, the woman you've mocked and insulted these last 15 minutes wasn't merely my grandma. Dorothy Jackson was the creator and sole proprietor of all the Jackson name stands for in this city." The following silence was so complete that the air conditioner's buzz seemed thunderous. Charles felt blood drain from his face. Madison dropped her luxury purse to the floor, and Patterson seemed breathless. Every contempt act, every cruel chortle, every biased remark of the last minute solidified in their minds as proof of their own colossal folly. But anyone observing Lana closely would note she wasn't surprised by their responses. As if following a meticulously rehearsed script. Each motion calculated to heighten the impact of what followed. Victoria Thompson led Lana to the executive conference room, leaving a utterly stunned Charles and a Madison nervously murmuring on her phone, trying to gather any Jackson Holdings info. Patterson trailed like a specter, still digesting he'd nearly ousted the heir to one of the city's vastest property empires. "Lana, dear," Victoria said, sealing the reinforced glass door, "your grandma readied me for this moment for months. She knew when you arrived here, it wouldn't just be for a balance check." Her tone mixed affection and awe. "Dorothy always said you had something unique, a wit few would spot." The girl sat in a leather seat that seemed to engulf her, but her eyes stayed vigilant and strategic. "Grandma taught that sometimes folks need truth confrontation in unforgettable ways," she said, extracting a small digital recorder from her bag, "and she said you'd aid with this legal part." Outside, Charles paced like a trapped beast. His business mind processed publicly insulting one of the region's most influential firm's heir's implications. "Madison, you don't grasp," he muttered to his wife. "If Jackson Holdings sues or severs our deals." "Calm, honey." Madison tried reassuring, but her nervousness showed. "She's just a child. Surely they'll see it as misunderstanding." Charles halted suddenly. "Misunderstanding? I called her grandma a janitor. I publicly ridiculed a black child." He raked hands through his groomed hair. "My lord, if this hits media." Meanwhile, inside, Victoria opened a secure file on her computer. "Your grandma readied for this day," she explained to Lana. "She documented every bias case she saw or endured at this bank over decades. Every racist remark, every denied favoritism, every shame masked as routine." Lana nodded solemnly, as if already knowing. "She showed some recordings she made," she said plainly. "And taught cell phone recording without notice. She subtly lifted her phone from the table like I did today with all outside." Victoria smiled, mixing pride and astonishment. "Dorothy reared you well. But more," she continued, opening a paper file. "Your grandma wasn't merely Jackson Holdings' owner. She was silent minority stakeholder in several firms, including." Victoria paused dramatically. "Whitman Enterprises." Lana's eyes brightened first since entering the bank. "So, Mr. Charles has indirectly worked for your family years without knowing," Victoria concluded. "And with will changes filed last week, you now hold enough voting power to sway key decisions in his firm." Outside, Charles calmed slightly and decided charm and diplomacy best. "I'm entering to apologize," he told Madison. "I'll explain misunderstanding. Maybe offer charity donation." He fixed his tie. "Kids impress easy. Nice words and pricey gift will mend this." But when Charles knocked conference door and entered with rehearsed grin, he found unexpected scene. Lana sat at table head with Victoria beside and document pile between. She didn't seem lost child consoled. She seemed CEO in business meet. Mr. Charles, Lana said with frosty courtesy unfit for her 9 years. Glad you joined. Ms. Victoria just explained my shareholder position in your firm. Charles felt floor vanish beneath. Shareholder, he echoed, voice higher than normal. 5% common stock, Victoria confirmed, checking papers enough to request audits, question leadership, and sometimes sway major company changes. Blood drained fully from Charles's face. 5% seemed little, but he knew in dispersed ownership firms, well-placed minority could cause huge chaos. Listen, I'd like apologize for earlier misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Lana cut, tone keeping unsettling poise. Mr. Charles, you called my late grandma janitor, suggested lost, laughed at my presence. She paused. That wasn't misunderstanding. It was racism. Charles gaped repeatedly like waterless fish. All meeting room experience, negotiating skills evaporated facing accusatory poise of 9-year-old who wouldn't accept hollow apologies. And most intriguing, Lana continued, toying with table digital recorder, is all recorded. Every word, laugh, comment. Her eyes met his with intensity making him flinch involuntarily. Grandma said folks reveal true selves thinking no consequences. Victoria leaned forward. Mr. Whitman, want hear some today's statements? Sure they'll interest your board, investors, perhaps corporate behavior media. Then Charles realized not dealing with easily placated traumatized child. Facing trained, prepared, equipped for this moment. Every Lana move since bank entry calculated to expose his exact type. And worst, he'd fallen perfectly, providing all evidence for own ruin. Room door opened again, this time impeccable suited man with leather case entered. Sorry delay, he said, addressing Lana directly. I'm Marcus Henderson, Jackson family attorney. Came soon as got Victoria's call. Charles watched horror as pieces placed. Nothing spontaneous about meet. Lana hadn't just appeared for innocent consult. She'd orchestrated whole with military precision, using vulnerable child appearance as weapon to expose prejudice she knew she'd face. And now, in that room, surrounded by attorneys, bank execs, 9-year-old with more power than he'd imagined, Charles finally grasped his made error extent. But what he didn't know yet was all drama just first act of much larger Lana and late grandma meticulously planned. Lesson he'd never forget about underrating society taught ignored people. Marcus Henderson opened leather case and extracted printed document stack, methodically spreading on conference table. Charles watched each motion with rising horror, as if viewing own execution prepped before eyes. Mr. Whitman, Marcus began with clinical precision of one preparing months. Want review some today's public statements? Have complete transcript here, courtesy digital recording Ms. Lana made. He held small device girl left strategically visible throughout talk. That's unlawful, Charles stammered, business poise crumbling. Can't record private talk sans consent. Victoria smiled coldly. Mr. Whitman, this public commercial spot. No legal privacy expectation here. She paused, weighed her words. And considering statements clear documented racial bias, we have not just right, but legal duty preserve evidence. Lana stayed seated calmly, watching Charles like scientists studying reaction. No malice in eyes, just cold satisfaction of one seeing meticulously executed plan reach climax. Let's to your words, Marcus continued, consulting transcript. Child wants balance. Probably mistook for regular branch. Then your grandma, is it? Maybe our janitor. And my favorite, who knows? Maybe works clinic kitchen where wife gets plastic work. Each quoted line made Charles shrink further in chair, as if words physical hits. Madison, silent till now, spoke trembling. We didn't know her. Misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. Lana spoke first-time minutes, tone keeping unsettling calm. Ms. Madison, you didn't know me. True. But knew I 9-year-old child. Should have been enough basic respect. Marcus turned document page. Interesting mention not knowing her because here evidence knew exactly doing. He slid photo across table, Madison's Instagram screenshot 3 weeks prior. Image, Madison at charity event with caption, loved learning Jackson holding social initiatives today. Inspiring C company transform communities. Photo taken Lana's firm HQ with logo visible background. Charles examined photo eyes wide horror. Madison, you knew Jackson Holdings. I didn't link, Madison stammered. But even she realized excuse pathetic. But more, Marcus continued relentlessly. He extracted second paper. Email between Mr. Whitman and Jackson Holdings last 6 months, negotiating consult deals representing 40% your firm's yearly income. Victoria leaned forward. Mr. Whitman, explain claim unaware company responsible almost half your income. Then final reality hit Charles like speeding train. Hadn't just insulted random child. Had systematically shamed heir to firm keeping own business viable. Every contract, payment received recent months came indirectly from family he'd attacked with recorded racist remarks. Lana Victoria addressed girl genuine respect. Shared decision made regarding Whitman Enterprises deals. Girl nodded spoke same calm maintained ordeal. Mr. Charles, after carefully reviewing existing deals terms consulting legal advisors, decided exercise termination clause just cause included all signed pacts. Charles felt blood drain fully from face. Just cause? What just cause? Marcus consulted another paper. Racial bias documented company rep during business interactions. Clause 15.3 specifies discriminatory conduct material breach pact, resulting immediate termination forfeit all outstanding payments. This will ruin me financially, Charles whispered, hands shaking mentally calculating implications. Without Jackson Holdings deals, firm unable honor payroll existing loans. Should have thought before deciding my skin color determined worth, Lana replied simply. No cruelty tone, just cold logical consequence application consciously made choices. Madison burst tears. Please, she's child. Surely resolve more civilized way. Victoria smiled. More civilized than way treated this child last 20 minutes. She gestured transcript. Mrs. Madison, civility concept should have applied before, not after consequence confrontation. Lana rose chair, small stature contrasting authority emanated presence. Mr. Charles, Ms. Madison, taught valuable lesson today. Showed exactly kind people exist world, judge persons worth skin color clothes appearance. She walked window overlooking city. But also gave something valuable any money amount. Absolute proof grandma right saying racism not always obvious. Sometimes wears expensive suit speaks politely, but still racism. Charles tried last desperate ploy. Lana, I can change. Can learn. Please give second chance. Girl slowly turned face him. Mr. Charles, had 9 years learn children deserve respect. Had decades learn people shouldn't judge skin color. How many more second chances need become decent person? Ensuing silence broken only Charles's phone ringing incessantly, probably contract termination news circulating business world. Didn't bother answer. Marcus closed case final definitive click. Today's documentation filed permanent legal records. Any retaliation attempt result further legal action. As Lana prepared leave room, paused door turned one last time. Not gloating, additional cruelty, but final lesson echo forever memory underestimated her. You wanted teach my place, said wisdom transcending 9 years. Mission accomplished. My place exactly grandma always said, top. Building better world other children one day walk places like this judged not skin color, but character content. Door closed behind soft click, leaving two people finally understood witness not own destruction, but justice force birth never understand control. But neither Charles nor Madison imagined public humiliation only first movement consequence symphony Lana late grandma orchestrated. Lesson true prejudice cost echo far beyond cold marble walls.